morning, everybody. You hear me well without the microphone? So, today my presentation or my talk will be about the neuroscience of addictive disorder. I'm not here trying to explain the neuroscience because I'm a clinician, I'm not a researcher. And in a way, I would like to explain the neuroscience to understand the addictive disorder, how to help the addicted population, how to help our patients when they come to us. I'm here addressing also the stigma about the addictive disorder and looking at that from the concept of the disorder, that would help us also to address the treatment and addressing the different areas of the brain that affect it. But definitely, like the neuroscience of addictive disorder is more than 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And it has multiple layers and very complex to address it in just one session like this. So, as I said, my objective is to understand the neuroscience of addictive disorder that would help to address the treatment and how we're going to help the population with addictive disorder to minimize the stigma about the addictive disorder. From my experience working with the addicted population, I think most of you also who's working with the patient would encounter that. A lot of the stigma about mental health. That's in general. And when it comes to addictive disorder, it's worse. Also, we talk about the general population, but when it comes to the Arab and Muslim community, we see this stigma is very intense and very severe, to the point that the family would lose their significant other for the disease of addiction because they don't want to face it and they don't want to bring it up. They would choose not to bring the patient to treatment because they worry about his sisters when he get married or what's going to happen with the family, and there's a stigma, and at the end overdose. We see that. So also there would be some limitation when we conceptualize addiction as a disease. And here I'm addressing what we see with the patient. I'm just sharing some of my experience here about what we see with the patients about this concept, and the patient will come and have some kind of limitation. I'm not, okay, I can't do anything about it. This is my disease, stuff like that. And how we can encounter that from the clinical prospect. Looking at the model of disease, and this is what most of the literature agreed on. The disease has an effect on an organ and it causes symptoms. And this effect related to certain cause. That might be infectious, genetic, or whatever. We take the example of diabetes here. This is an effect in the pancreas with symptoms of diabetes, which sometimes would be kind of tricky because the symptom of diabetes really doesn't reflect the organ get affected. If we think about tachycardia, sweating, polyuria, or stuff we're eating a lot, we're eating a lot. If we really don't know that is affecting the pancreas, we chase the symptoms or target the symptoms, and we might not address the cause. And that happened for years in addiction for addressing the behavioral component of addiction. Because what comes to the surface is the behavioral component. And the medical community struggle with dealing with that. Even the whole community starts to move into the law enforcement, and we cannot deal with that. We don't know how to handle it. And the patient or the person that has been using, taken to the jail, incarcerated, released, still has a problem. We didn't get anybody. To understand that, highlighting the brain areas that involved in the addiction, that would be mainly the pleasure center, which is the part of the brain that I want and have the pleasure from doing certain behavior. There is also the emotional center of the brain and the rational brain, which is the decision-making part. And generally, the brain has these different committees working together, trying to facilitate the job. They communicate with each other. Sometimes, or most of the time, we're supposed to help each other, but sometimes we work against each other. So we also highlighting here how the brain works, communicate between the different brain cells, either by electric stimuli or sometimes with the chemical parts. So we talk here about also the neurotransmitters. So this is what I addressed here. This is the rational brain, which is the neurocortex. This is the section of the brain with the front over there. This is the back. This is the bottom, and above there is the top. So the frontal cortex, which is here, that's mainly about the rational thinking. The emotional brain, which I addressed here as the limbic system, this is recording the emotion. What we part of it is called the amygdala, and also very closely the hippocampus, which is about the learning component. And definitely the pleasure center or the instinctual part of the brain where we have the pleasure center. If we look more about the pleasure circuits in the brain, it's 3 areas there where they have certain circuits. When we do certain behavior, this like results in, oh, I like it, I want to do it again. And sometimes it will be in the euphoric manner that doing certain behavior or taking any external substance make us feeling better or having relief. Sometimes it will give the relief from the negative emotion. And here will come the concept of the dual diagnosis and co-care with trauma, depression, and anxiety, and so on. So here I'm going to look at the brain when we have, this is a non-addictive brain, when we have a pleasure for certain or response to certain stimuli, like eating chocolate or having an ice cream, and how that will be communicated between the different areas of the brain. If we look at the red area here, this is the pleasure circuit. And this is how they communicate about the need and the desire. So this is what would be like, I want to eat chocolate. Here, like the desire for the chocolate comes from this area. And we call it the gas. If you just get the metaphor of the car, there's a gas pedal and there's brakes. So to drive safely, we have to balance between both. We come after that the memory component, especially the emotional memory. And here, how eating chocolate makes me feel happy, or I always eat the chocolate when I am stressed, so that will relieve my stress. So the emotional component here, the memory, will empower or intensify this desire for eating chocolate. That definitely would be communicated to the control part of the brain, which is the rational brain. That would navigate the consequences, see the environment, taking like highly executive function, and see what we can do about this. Are we going to eat the chocolate, or what we're going to do? And this part of the brain, which will remind me about, hold a second, you are baby. You cannot eat much of chocolate, or you cannot eat that at all. Your hemoglobin A1C was very high, and you remember last time you was in the hospital, what happened? So this is a kind of imposing the control in the behavior, and then would be communicated to the brain. As we see here, there is a balance between the desire, between the emotional empowering, and also the control part. Big connection between the pleasure and the dopamine. Like, yes, it's very important. This is what we found is like very connected or related to pleasurable behavior or pleasurable acts. Like eating the chocolate, like food, will increase the dopamine. We all know, like, I'd just like to simplify, there is a basic or tonic release of dopamine. But when we eat the chocolate, we have certain food, oh, my dopamine will go up. That will make me feeling, oh, I want to do it again. That's very nice. Sex is like the most rewarding natural behavior being identified with the highest amount of dopamine release. I want to just highlight here what would be if we introduce other substance or an external substance. As you see here, the amount of the dopamine from amphetamine, almost like 3 times of the natural reward. And you see it also with the cocaine, almost like 3 or 4 times. And you see here with the morphine, with the different dosage of the morphine, we have more release of the dopamine. It's not only just the dopamine, but other factors there. But this is a big component. And also the environmental factors, also the prone or susceptibility to addictive disorder is a very important factor, because not everyone exposed to the drug will develop addiction. Actually, the minority will develop addiction. But here I'm stressing, if we have an addicted person having the severe illness, how are we going to help them? So here how to look like the brain also in response to the desire for drug. Here the addicted brain. After continuous exposure to the drug in susceptible people have more susceptibility for addiction, the drug will hijack the pleasure center. And as we see here, the intensity of the pleasure circuit is not just as a desire. In an addicted person with a severe addiction, it's not just as a desire for chocolate or having sex or just like any other pleasurable or rewarding behavior. It's very intense, even compulsive. And we see the memory component, which is the intensified relation between the emotional component who's using the drug and the desire. So I remember very well, the brain remember very well how the drug was a way, we call it coping, but it's not a coping, because it leads by the end for dysfunction. This is how I'm numbing my emotions. So I'm suffering from depression and anxiety, trauma. Okay, the brain registers that as a way of numbing once I drink or I use external substance. And this desire would be, a stimuli would be connected to the frontal cortex for navigating if we can do that or not. We see very evident in addicted population that the frontal cortex is very hypoactive. It almost is not working there. So that would explain a lot. They don't have the capacity to make the decision or controlling the behavior. And here the drive would come from the very primitive area of the brain, which is the midbrain, which doesn't think, doesn't comprehend the outcome of the behavior. So from the neurobiological prospect, we see the addiction is a stress-induced for in many people and genetically vulnerable population, affecting the reward, learning, and memory areas of the midbrain besides the choice component of the frontal cortex. How that will help us with the treatment? We address that as like these different areas, how we're going to target them in the treatment with the different modalities of the treatment. Before that, I just want to share this few slides about the stigma about the addictive disorder. And for years, like we're dealing with the addictive population, working ER in different clinical settings, most of the clinicians, they don't want to deal with the addictive population. This is at least my experience, I don't know. But I think for most of the cases, we see that sometimes it's because of the lack of skills dealing with them. Sometimes also because the counter-transference about we don't want to deal with this population. And sometimes also about there is no hope. Whatever we're going to do, you're going to relapse again. This very interesting article from the JAMA, I think it was in 2000, and this is a literature review of almost all the English-speaking articles from 1980 till 2000. And actually that compare the incidence of relapse in addiction after detoxification compared with the incidence of decompensation for any chronic illness. They choose here other three chronic illnesses: asthma, diabetes, and hypertension. So they consider having the decompensation to the point that for any of these three chronic diseases, they need to reestablish the treatment again, either by being admitted to the hospital or have very intense clinical outpatient follow-up to get reestablished again. And they compare the incidence of relapse in addiction with the decompensation of these chronic illnesses. This was the outcome. In addiction, the incidence of relapse between 40 to 60%. We see in type 1 diabetes, the incidence that the patient would need to go to reestablish the treatment again is 30 to 50%. In asthma and hypertension is almost 50 to 70%. So it's almost comparable to other chronic illness. So the outcome here is not any worse than any other chronic illness. But what you need to do, what you need to work with, this is a chronic disease, like any other chronic illness. If I am diabetic and I don't follow up with my doctor, I don't do any diet, I don't do anything about my diabetes, I'm going to have the worst outcome of my diabetes. The same will apply also for addiction. It's a chronic disease. You need to work with that as a chronic illness and maintain the follow-up and maintain the support system for the patient. It doesn't have to be medical all the time, but we'll make sure how they're going to cope, how they can address the triggers, how they address the trauma, and you have efficient ways to deal with that. Going back to the different areas that are affected by the disease of addiction and how these areas we target in treatment. We see here, this is a different areas, the choice part, which is the frontal cortex, the drive, which is the orbitofrontal cortex, just like below the frontal cortex of the orbit, and the learning component of the brain, which is the hippocampus, the learning behavior of addiction. I usually tell my patient that I don't have medication to give it to you. That's a therapy. That's a process of change in life. How are we going to implement this process of change and work on it? It's not easy. It's not like a way that you're gonna, okay, I'm gonna like do an event of recovery and that's it. It's a continuous process we have to work on. And here comes also the concept of, for example, the 12 steps and the spiritual, like background or the spiritual beliefs and the spiritual reserve the person has. How I can think about myself, what's my value, what's my connection with this world. CBT would work with the coping skills. So if every time I'm stressed and drinking, so how I'm going to work with my coping skills, like to address coping skills with my triggers. Motivation enhancement strategies, that's for years we've been confronting our addicted population and we cannot like work with them in a way, okay, you have to get treatment. Or how dare you couldn't stop using. You couldn't see the effect on your family and your health and your job, but that is not that easy. And the motivation enhancement, of course, most of you know that, like we meet the patient where they are, and we treat them, not this, that. That's the way how we're gonna like get some improvement with them. Behavioral therapy, another component of CBT, contingency therapy, where we give like some monetary reward if they keep like their recovery. And for example, some of the centers that we do, if you keep the drug screen negative, give you a voucher, give you some reward, so we can keep working on that. Here it comes to the reward or the leisure center area. This is where we can also help with the therapy, and a lot of coping skills help there. How I'm going to cope with the craving? When I have this compulsive desire about use, I'm going to act on it, or there's other techniques to help me. But here comes an area for medication, and medication nowadays works very, helps a lot with the craving, especially in the area of the alcohol, opiates, and nicotine dependence. Medication here helps a lot with anti-craving medication. Addressing for opiates, medication like Suboxone, Vivitrol, naltrexone is a very efficient, non-addictive medication that will help a lot. Alcohol, naltrexone, Cantrell, other medication, and we see the areas that we don't have much evidence for like very concrete outcome for the anti-craving is the stimulants and marijuana or cannabis. But still there is some data emerging there. And finally, addressing the emotional component and co-caring mental illness. If we handle the addiction and you didn't address the mental illness, it would be almost like the back door to come back again and like the person would try to use again. Not many years ago, but like the struggle between the addiction, is this a medical or mental, and how we address it, it was very, really confusing for most of the medical community and for patients as well. And if I'm alcoholic and I have depression, I would go to my shrink, and my shrink would say, no, go to your doctor, primary care, just let him fix your alcohol and come back to me. And they go to my primary care and we tell me, no, but your depression is supposed to go to your shrink. So now we have to address both. This is the concept of the dual diagnosis and the co-caring disorder. So basically we're looking for mind, body, soul approach, the biopsychosocial spiritual assessment and the treatment approach for addictive disorder. Better management of the pain, a lot of physical component will be a trigger for addiction, addressing any other medical comorbidities. This population, they don't care about their medical condition, and they develop other medical conditions because of the infection. Some of the limitations we encounter when working with the patient kind of taking a laid-back position and say, okay, I can't do anything about my addiction, this is my disease. No. Maybe you didn't choose how the drug will affect your brain. You didn't choose how the sugar and the carb will affect your pancreas. But once you know that you have a diabetes and there is a way how to manage your diabetes, it's your choice now what you're going to do about it. Are you going to ignore it, leave it until it eats your body and cause all the complication, or are you going to work on it? So the concept of diseases doesn't mean that they actually is my disease. Other thing that treatment has been dedicated by clinician and they don't have anything to do. So my therapist or my doctor will give me, okay, follow that. It's not this way because a lot of chronic illnesses also has a component to the patient, like how I'm going to control my diet, having healthy lifestyle, working on all of this behavioral component that will help with the outcome of other chronic illnesses. Relapse is unpreventable. Maybe relapse is part of the disease, but still, we can work on spacing out the period between relapses, and probably or hopefully that will be our goal to avoid relapse at all. There is no cure for my disease, but there is a way how to manage it. That's how we manage chronic illnesses. We manage diabetes, we manage high blood pressure, asthma. And finally, I inherited my disease, so nothing to do about it. We can work on it. Especially with the person in recovery and worried about their children. And they ask me, okay, I'm worried about my child. I usually respond with that. If I am diabetic and I'm worried about my son, I would tell my son, maybe you are prone for diabetes. You carry the genes for that. I don't know. But the best way to avoid that is to work on the environmental part. Avoid to run unhealthy lifestyle like me, or don't eat healthy. All of this will be avoided. That would be the best you can do if you are worried about your children and about your generation. I think that's all for now, and I'll be happy to have any questions during the discussion. Thank you.